I'm here because I am a roaring lion crying out righteousness. Pastor James David Manning takes down the $1 trillion invested Mellon Bank with one smooth stone. You have probably heard me lament over the past year about the grievous, unprecedented, unconscionable foreclosure action taken by the Mellon Bank and its subsidiaries, the New York State court system, civil court system, that have foreclosed on a church in Harlem for $3.1 million that has been occurring over the past 20 years, got started as a $36,000 water and sewer bill. Please be mindful. The foreclosure action against us is not of money that we borrowed or some sort of a mortgage. It's for an illegal, inappropriate water and sewer tax leveled against our church, the Bethelite Community Baptist Church, back in the late 1990s. They finally sold a lien to the Mellon Bank for $36,000. And we have been fighting in court all these years. Judge Kornreitz in 2004 declared in a court order that we did not owe the money. We are tax exempt. We are federally tax exempt. We're New York State tax exempt. We're city tax exempt. The Department of Environmental Protection and the Mellon Bank were in the wrong in terms of putting a lien against our church. And for 20 solid years, I have staved them off. But I'm here to announce today that I, James David Manning, I'm going to take down this $1 trillion industry called the Mellon Bank with one smooth stone. They must be stopped. Listen, let me say this to you. Our church building on 123rd Street and Lenox Avenue in New York City is worth north of $10 million. Now, we bought it 35 years ago when it was dirt cheap. But right now, over the years, we have invested in the property. It was an abandoned building, bombed out building. We've renovated the building. It's worth more than $10 million. And were our church to be sold at auction, which is what Judge Francis A. Kahn III did, he gave the Mellon Bank the right to foreclose on our church. And the interest rate on the $36,000 accruing over the period of 20 years has now brought the total sum amount to $3.1 million, what at one time then they just so simple, even though we did not owe it, and the judge, Cornridge, said we did not owe it, has now gone from $36,000 to $3.1 million by an illegal interest rate at 18% interest rate, which Judge Francis A. Kahn III awarded the Mellon Bank, and we pleaded with him. It's a church. We have a homeless shelter for 40 years. We have a K through high school for 27 years where our students that graduate are accepted at Yale, at Cardozo Law, at New York Law, New York University, Fordham University, St. John's, and schools all over America. Our students are that brilliant when they come out of studying for 12 years under our teaching. Don't shut that down. Don't shut down our homeless center. Don't give a bank $3.1 million on a water and sewer charge of $36,000, shut down our church, and let that $1 trillion industry bank reap that kind of a profit. Judge Kahn will hear none of it, I believe, because he is a flaming supporter of LGBTQ, and I am anti-LGBTQ right up into Leviticus chapter 18, verse 20, and Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13, and Matthew's Gospel chapter 5, verse 17, and in the book of Romans chapter 1, verse 8 through to 27, and the book of John chapter 5, verse 45, 46, and following, that I am anti-LGBTQ, and all of New York City knows it. And I believe that Judge Kahn thought that he could shut this church down, give $3 million to a bank that's already got trillions of dollars, shut down the breakfast program, shut down a church that has fed over 1 million meals here in Harlem, and never takes a dime from the city or the state or the federal government to run any of our ministries or program. But I've got a smooth stone in my left hand, and I'm going to fling this against the Mellon Bank, and they are coming down. That's right. But I want you to understand, were we to lose this property, all that ministry, 40 years of homeless shelter, 27 years of graduating literally hundreds of high school students, going to the best schools in America, all that would end. The 1 million meals that we've served will far outdistance the little money the city of New York says that we owe them. The breakfast program that we do with feeding hungry children, and the ministry that we do, marrying people, keeping people out of prison, helping people get jobs, cleaning up the streets, wiping out homeless in Harlem. And yet, Judge Kahn, aided by Judge Arlene T. Bluth, who our lawyers demonstrated unequivocally that, first of all, the Mellon Bank was in cahoots, and that the way they scrambled around the so-called title to the property was just unprecedented, and that they too did not deserve the 18% interest, and that the Mellon Bank used a legal tactic called latches, where for 7 years they didn't take the matter to court, letting the interest accrue every year until it came into the millions, and finally they decided to bring it before the court. And we argued this before Judge Arlene Bluth, and she would hear nothing of it. But we said, we're a church. We're a church. We do charitable works. This is a Mellon Bank that robs. You know what banks do. And yet, she said, sell the church and give the Mellon Bank the money. Now, I've got a smooth stone in my hand. Judge Bluth is also a flaming member of nearly every LGBTQ organization in New York City. And many instances, she is the leader, the president, or the chairperson of these organizations. And everybody knows that James David Manning is Bible tight. I'm Bible tight. Jesus said in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 5, verse 17, that he didn't come to change the laws of Moses. Read it for yourself. Read them and weep. Jesus said the law of Leviticus chapter 18, verse 20, man shall not lie with mankind. Leviticus chapter 20, verse 13, man shall not lie with mankind. That Jesus said in Matthew's Gospel chapter 5, verse 17, I didn't come to change it, meaning that law still stands to this very day. Now you can pontificate and say what you want because of your flaming, if you will, desires to have this universal type of sex called same sex. But Jesus said, not so. Moses said it, and both heaven and earth will pass away before the Leviticus law against homosexuality passes away. It stands to this very day. And I'm standing on the word of God, but I got more. I want you to understand something. If we were foreclosed, as Judge Kahn has viciously, and I think very, very vehemently, he should have recused himself when he ordered our church to be a church in Harlem that has done the work we've done for 40 years to be sold, and $3 million to get into the Mellon Bank. It's unconscionable. It's unreasonable. It's heartless. I got a smooth stone in my hand. I'm going to lay it on you just for a moment. And Mellon Bank is coming down. Our $10 million building will be sold for $3 million. Whoever the buyer buys it at auction, and you know how they rig the auctions. The person who buys the building will then get a building worth $10 million and only have to spend $3 million. We've been here all these years and built up that equity. We will lose $10 million plus the opportunity to do the great ministry of the children's breakfast program, the ATLAH High School, and the work that we've done. Oh, I know we're against LGBTQ, but we're doing a great job. We are the most, if you will, progressive, the most powerful, the most charitable church in Harlem, if not in New York City. And as Sister Charlene McMillan said, they want to shut this black church down. In fact, they shut all the black churches down in Harlem. They've sold them. They bulldozed them over. But I alone am left standing, and I will not bow. I will not bow my knee to this perversion here in Harlem. They call it gentrification. But here's what I want to say to you. I want to say to you that the Mellon Bank, we got to bring that bad boy down. We got to bring it down. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to do a citywide, nationwide ad buy in the month of September in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post. I'm going to ask you to pray with me as we assemble $150,000 to do an ad buy in those 3 newspapers. And in those 3 newspapers, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask or invite Judge Arlene P. Bluth, Judge Francis A. Kahn III, and the president of the Mellon Bank and Mayor Eric Adams of the city of New York. I'm going to invite them to our breakfast program here at the back end of September. Now, this ad will run in the New York Times as a full-page ad. We've already ran 2 ads in the New York Times at over $100,000 to our personal expense. And by the way, one may argue, Pastor Manny, you're going to spend $150,000 in the newspapers. Yes, my brother. Can I tell you why? Because I do not expect to get justice in the courts. Someone said, if you want justice, go to a whorehouse. Pay your money, you get what you pay for. But if you want to get effed, go to court. I've been doing this, listen to me, I've been doing this 20 years. And these judges, even our own lawyers, milked us. When they found out our building was worth $10 million, they kept getting adjournments, they kept postponements, they didn't insert things that they could have done that would adjudicate us. There's a boy called Mark Anderson, I swear before God, even some of the worst lawyers on the planet wouldn't shake hands with that boy. He belongs to that Shidrick, Bowman, Anderson, Gill, and whatever the hell that last name is. That boy, Mark Anderson, that boy put a trick on us. He tried to jack us for $2 million to pay the expensive rent out there in that Queens Boulevard office building. So I can't trust the lawyers. And I can't trust the judges of the courts. The courts don't favor me. They think that I'm a hater. They call me, he ain't for LGBTQ rights, and people ought to be able to love who they want to love. They ought to be able to marry who they want to marry. And man, they keep raising that Bible all the time. Let's get rid of him. So I have to go another route. I don't expect to get justice in the courts. And some of y'all know that these courts don't mete out justice. Y'all know it. So I got to spend this money. So we're going to allocate $150,000 to run ad in full-page ads in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and the New York Post. And those ads will specifically do this. We'll invite Judge Bluth, Judge Kahn, Mellon Bank President Eric Adams to come to an early morning breakfast program at 7:30 here at the ATLAH World Missionary Church. Let them see what they're closing down. Let them see they're taking the bread out of the mouth of these children here in Harlem and giving it to the Mellon Bank that's already got trillions of dollars. I want them to see it. Now, they're not going to come. You say, well, then why you take the ad? I'm taking the ad because it's going to put New York and the world on notice. See, if they came, and they have the option to do, if they came, perchance they would sit down and say, let's work something out. Let's keep this church alive. But they're not going to come because of their sense of ownership, their sense of judicial power. They feel they can quash this church under their foot like a bug. But the story will go national and international. The other thing I want to do is this, is that I'm going to call for 1 month of boycotts out in front of the Supreme Court building on Center Street where the civil proceedings are heard. I'm going to put together a collection of members, school children, volunteers to stand out in front of Judge Kahn's courtroom, Judge Bluth's courtroom, and the Mellon Bank and hand out the invitations. The same invitations that will be in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Post will have it on handouts and flyers for 1 solid month in front of Judge Kahn's courtroom, Judge Bluth's courtroom. For 1 entire month, we're going to invite them to come. Now, you think they're going to be arrogant enough after all of that? Because the whole world going to know about this one, my brother. The whole world going to know of what they've done, how they've ruled. They're going to be lawyers. I'm going to give you the index number of the court case that have been going on since 2009. And lawyers and other people can look at the courts, look at the rulings, and see where both the lawyers that represented me hoodwinked me, bamboozled me, and how the judges allowed that there be no due process towards a church in Harlem. I'm going to post it up in the New York Times so people of law understanding can look at it and see that these judges and lawyers are unfit. They are unfit to serve before the bar of the courts of America. We're going to do it. And not just that, but we're going to put a boycott out in front of the Mellon Bank. We're going to go down there and we're going to boycott. And we're not just one time, but we're going to do it till we're satisfied. We're going to do the boycott of Mellon Bank until we are satisfied. And until the Mellon Bank comes and sits down with me. You say, well, Pastor Manning, I thought you said a few moments ago that he wasn't going to come. No, they are not going to come. But they're going to wish that they did. Now here, I'm going to put it with you. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for understanding. I'm protecting our children. Please understand. I got to protect the children. I've graduated hundreds, if not thousands, of students to go off to college. I've fed over 1 million meals out of this building to hungry bellies in Harlem. I've preached sermon after sermon, baptized, laid hands on, healed, dealt with people who are lost, families that were broken up. I can't let Judge Kahn and Judge Bluth and the Mellon Bank have the last say. I can't do it. I got to fight for the people. I got to fight for the people. I got to fight for my people. I got to fight to keep this house alive. And so $150,000 is minuscule in terms of what we're going to invest. But beyond that, I want you to understand me. I want you to, under no circumstance would the city of New York, Eric Adams, the judge, under no circumstance would they give a Mellon Bank $3.1 million and shut down a poor church in Harlem, shut down a breakfast program, shut down a homeless shelter, and go off and have tea, have Caesar salad and Chardonnay wine with their homosexual friends. Oh. You're not going to get away with this. I got a smooth stone in my left hand, and I'm getting ready to sling that bad boy. But I'm not through. No. I'm going to call for an international boycott. I'm going to call for an international no-do, no-rain boycott against the Mellon Bank. See, the Mellon Bank holds interest in nations all over the world, Africa, Asia, Taiwan, China, all over America. They have holdings, just like they have the holdings of our title in their hands. I'm going to call on the brothers and sisters of truth in Nigeria, South Africa, in Liberia, in Europe, in Islamic lands. I'm going to call for brothers and sisters of truth to make no further payments to the Mellon Bank, and that you would get on the horn and you would talk to your constituents, your economic developers in nations all over the world where the Mellon Bank now holds a mortgage over your economic enterprises, your electrical grids, or whatever else it is that they do, and that y'all all unite, for this giant has come to quash a church in Harlem. And that if you unite, you brothers that are under the, if you will, holdings of Mellon Bank would boycott them Tell them you're not going to make any more payments until you release the stranglehold, the blood-curdling, blood-sucking stranglehold that you have on the ATLAH, on the Bethlehem Community Baptist Church, the ATLAH ministry, and Pastor James David Manning, until you let that blood-sucking, blood-curdling stranglehold that you have on that church in Harlem, we are going to default on all our payments. And stand your ground. Stand your ground. We're in a time of great recession. America is getting ready to scrape the bottom of the sewer itself in terms of economic powers. And banks, among all others, are going to suffer. And I want Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. They understand economics. And right now, if several nations withhold their payments in a default status, and you have the opportunity to default, you can withhold your payments or at least 90 days before the Mellon Bank can take any legal actions against you. But if all of y'all are withholding for 90 days, there'll be too many nations to take legal action against. They won't have enough lawyers. Plus, their income would dry up over a period of 30 to 60 days with you not supporting them. Their income would dry up so quickly that the Federal Reserve and other places where they get money to capitalize their investments would also dry up because the Federal Reserve is drying up, interest rates are going up, inflation is off the charts. Biden is getting ready to try to pump $1 trillion into the economy to get it going again. You get the idea. Now, I know I've gone way off into finance. Let me get back to the nitty-gritty here. I'm going to invite. I want to ask the nations, I want to ask you to join in the no dew nor rain boycott against the Mellon Bank. Shut that bitch down. Shut that bitch down. Shut it down. Shut it down. You thought I meant to say bank. No, shut that bitch down. Shut it down. Now, I want to invite Judge Kahn, Judge Blue, Mayor Eric Adams, the president of Mellon Bank, to come to a breakfast program. We'll serve you whatever you want. You want waffles, pancakes, eggs, bacon, sausage, grits, toast, orange juice, milk, cranberry juice, grapes, bananas. The works! The works! We'll sit you down in our church and let you see what y'all have been doing and what you've tried to do. And want all of America to rise up and say, look at what Judge Bluth has done to that church. Look at that. Why didn't Judge Kahn say, Mellon Bank, sit down with Pastor Manning, work out a deal. Don't take the man's church and put those children in the street. Why didn't Judge Kahn, by the way, he's a little short, chubby fella there. Why didn't Judge Kahn try to work something out? It was within his discretion. And why? Why did Judge Blue call Pastor Manning the shenanigan man? Because I realized my lawyers weren't defending me. They weren't doing the appropriate thing that needed to be done. She allowed the Mellon Bank lawyers to get an ex parte, if you will, ruling from the referee without me having notice of the referee hearing, without me having an opportunity to appear before the referee hearing. It was ex parte. She knew it, she saw it, and yet she let it pass. And when I argued against it, she called me a shenanigan man. But Judge Blue, I got a word for you. I got a word for you. Remember me? Remember me, Judge Blue? Remember you called me the shenanigan man. And you honored the Mellon Bank and gave them our church building. You gave them our heart. You gave them our soul. You gave them our blood, sweat, and tears. Judge Blue, remember me? You remember me? You call me the shenanigan man. Well, let me inform you, Judge Blue. I'm the Lord's servant, and I'm not through. No, I got a smooth stone in my left hand, and I'm getting ready to sling that bad boy. So come the month of September, we're going to set the joint ablaze. Come September, we're going to the New York Times. We're going to the Wall Street Journal. We're going to the New York Post. Eric Adams, remember me? You didn't want to march with me back there when we were marching for the Jews over there in Crown Heights. Remember me, Eric? Remember me? I want you to come up here. I want you to come up here to Harlem and see what the city of New York is doing to a church in Harlem. Remember me, Eric? There you are. Remember me? How you pushed me to the back, pushed me to the side, kicked me to the curb. Remember me, Eric? Eric Adams. I want to invite you to a jelly biscuit breakfast up here in Harlem, New York City. My friends, we're not going to lose. And I want to contact my friends. I'm going to have our researchers find out every nation and every industry globally that is being held hostage by the Mellon Bank. It's time for the Mellon Bank to bite the dust. I got a smooth stone in my hand. They don't call me David just for the singing. They call me David for the swinging. That's and I'm getting ready to swing. We're not going to lose this building. Now, you done fooled around and picked on the wrong man. You've crushed others. You've crushed other churches. You've crushed other people under your feet as if they were nothing. You took their property and kicked them in the street. You created more homelessness than you can shake a stick at all across America with your banking procedures. But it's going to end. And not just me. But when people rise up and see how I'm going to kick your ass, others are going to rise up and do the same thing. You done picked on the wrong boy. You done picked on the wrong one. I'm James David Manning, everybody. I'm the Lord's servant. Come September, we're going to flood the streets in front of Judge Kahn's courtroom, in front of Judge Bluth's courtroom, in front of the Mellon Bank. We're going to flood the newspapers with invitations to come to breakfast to see what you have condemned and why God has blessed it, and it will not be denied. Keep tuned, everybody. Watch out. I'm James David Manning. The property is the Bethelite Community Baptist Church. I'm the leader of the ATLAH World Missionary Church, operating out of it. I am the Lord's servant, and I'm just getting started. I'm romancing that smooth stone. I'm romancing the stone that I'm going to sling. I'm romancing that stone I'm going to sling out of my left hand. Stay tuned, everybody. Go to atlah.org for more information about this great economic move of God. It's going to take from the rich and give to the poor. Hallelujah! Peace out.